meeting to order and welcome everyone in attendance. I just want to say it's very nice to see such a nice audience. I appreciate all of you taking your time on such a hot day being here. It's going to be a fairly lengthy agenda, but we do appreciate each and every one of you taking a part in this. The prayer in the pledge is going to be handled by J.P. Butch Pond.
Yes, ma'am. I've invited my friend Russell Hill to lead us in the prayer and the pledge.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for today. We want to thank you for the opportunity to live in this great county and in this great state and this great country. And Father, we pray that you would continue to bring us together, help us to come and to grow and to learn and to love each other as our nation continues to try to find ways to move towards that. We ask tonight that you be over this meeting and that you would give wisdom and guidance and understanding to our JPs. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 All right, and if you would, say if you appreciate your freedom today and the men and women who serve our country and have served it in the past, let's say this Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Daniel Balls.
Here.
Harvey Bowman.
Here.
Rick Cochran.
Here.
Robert Dennis.
Here.
Lisa Ecke.
Here.
Ann Harbison.
Here.
Sharon Lloyd.
Here.
Tom Lundstrom.
Here.
Eva Madison.
Here.
Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell.
Here.
Gary McHenry.
Here.
Joe Patterson.
Here.
Butch Pond.
Here.
Bill Ussery.
Quorum present. You all have the agenda in front of you. I know of a few additions to the agenda. J.P. Cochran would like to add 22.1 and 22.2, which are resolutions for grant submission, and for 22.3, which is an appropriation ordinance. I would also like to ask that agenda item 21.1 regarding the CUP ratification be moved up on the agenda following the county judge report. Do I have a motion, or do I have any other adjustments, or do I have a motion to accept this agenda?
Do we need to add 6.6? When Nelson Driver's first name.
I have him later on, but I don't have him.
Okay, it's numbered as 6.6.
That's actually just,
Yeah, we can
there's
go
not an
ahead.
It's
action
part of
item.
it.
It's just
Okay.
a reference for his report.
All right. Move to adopt the agenda as printed with the amendments.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next thing we have is the approval of the minutes. Yes, you recognize J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I apologize. I just haven't had time to read them, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Judge, I move to approve the minutes. I did read them.
Second. Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as is. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. The next thing we have before you is the treasurer's report. Mr. Hill. The second Mr. Hill.
That's right. No relation.
Oh, okay. You're recognized, Bobby.
Good evening, everybody. All right, jump right into it. 6.1. If you look at the 1,000 general, 2,000 road, 3017 jail, they all did well. They held their own in June. In the general fund, the revenues didn't quite keep up with expenditures, but that's not uncommon for this time of year. If you look on the bottom of the second page, we began the month with $32.2 million in the bank. We ended with $33.3. We are halfway through the year. In a perfect world, we'd be at 50% revenues, new revenues coming in. And road is at 50%, general is at 54%, and jail is all the way up to 57%, mostly due to timely payments from the state. 6.2, 1 cent sales tax for the second straight month, somewhat disappointing. This month we got in $542,000. That was growth, but it was less than 1% growth. But I guess even a little growth is better than none. 6.3, same for jail. Got in 736,000. That was less than 1% growth. But for the year, we're 217,000 over this same time last year. 6.4, road tax. It actually lost a little ground, but it was almost identical to last year at this time with 112,000. 6.5, employee insurance. We began the month 1.5, ended the month 1.5. Was there something you were supposed to say here?
The insurance fund, one of the things that we had talked about week before last in our last session was the fund was, sorry.
I'll tell you what, let me hang on before you give your report.
Okay.
I'm going to recognize Ashley to do the comptroller, and then
Okay.
I'm going to get you up there.
That'll work.
Thank you very much.
Is there any questions on anything I did?
Any questions for Bobby? J.P. Bowman?
Thank you. Bobby, do you have any projections yet on what you might expect to be going on next year?
As far as what, sales tax or
Well, both.
overall?
Yeah, overall.
Well, I should have preliminary projections in September. Russell Hill's supposed to give me the assessment values in August. So after I get that, I'll know about the property tax revenue. But I think it was year before last is up like 2.8. And it jumped another 3 to 3.2. So another 3% growth in property tax, if I had to guess right now. Sales tax is a bit more iffy.
Okay.
It's kind of trending down.
Yep.
But I would do a modest increase if I had to right now.
Yeah.
I don't see a big windfall of revenue, but I don't see a big shortage either.
Well, I know we had a 15% 1 month earlier, and then for it to come down to less than 1% here this month is a little bit scary.
Yeah.
But
I should know tomorrow. I wish I'd had it today, but
Oh, I know.
they didn't come out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions for Bobby? Thank you very much. Next thing we're having is our comptroller's report. Ms. Ashley?
On 7.1 is the unappropriated reserves. What came out for June was the public defender appropriation for the position that you all approved. For 7.2 is the summary of revenues and expenditures. This report does not list any encumbrances, and basically everybody should be at approximately 50% for the month. And then on 7.3 is our summary statement of operations. Here you'll see the encumbrances, which might make the actual percentage used a little higher. And again, everybody should be around 50%. The one thing that I want to point out to you on page 2, in the employee insurance fund, there was an encumbrance that was made for $350,000 that Nelson explained about the insurance claim that will need to be paid. We went ahead and made that encumbrance so you can see what the actual fund would look like with that gone. And then the only other thing that I wanted to touch base on was I wanted to let you all know that we did receive a refund from workers' comp from back in 2012. It was over $58,000, so we were able to put that back into the funds. So, but besides that, that's all I have.
Any questions? Yes, J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. You said everything should be around 50%, but the adult drug court fund is at 93%. Was that because of some year-long expenses that are paid up front? Or?
Okay, so the drug court fund, basically that one, that's a transfer to general. So that's what the difference is between what was budgeted for the transfer and then what was actually transferred, which made it, it was already done for the annual expense.
So they're not going to run short?
No.
Okay,
no.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks.
Next report we're going to have is on the insurance, Mr. Nelson Driver. I thought maybe he left because I turned him down. You're recognized, Nelson.
The sheriff wouldn't let me leave. Okay, let's talk about the claim first. The encumbrance is not showing up in the fund balance. The actual fund balance of the health fund right now, as of today, is $1,352,845. That is cash money in the bank. That $350,000 will come out of that amount. So that is going to net us about to the point of about $1 million. The transplant has been done, so we will be getting a bill for that procedure in the amount of $350,000 anytime. So that's going to put us right at $1 million in the health fund when that occurs. So we'll probably have that just within, I would say, probably within the next 30 days. That will be coming out.
Nelson, I'm sure that they all want to know how the young lady's doing.
She's doing wonderfully well. She's doing wonderfully well. The transplant, it was a liver transplant. The transplant was very successful, and she's doing quite well at the last report that I got. So it was a very, very successful procedure. So we're glad to have that done and glad to have that behind us. And we just pray for that young lady's continued recovery. The next item that you've got in your packet is just a general item of interest for the court members insofar as our discussion for the 2017 health proposal, the changes to the actual health plan. And these are the changes that we're going to be discussing at next week's special meeting for, to handle the insurance. What I've included in this, and this is just a brief summary just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. You're looking at item number 1, deductible increases. Currently, we have a calendar year deductible of $345, and you've got 3 recommendations there, just labeled A, B, and C. Recommendation A, which would put the deductible just about on par with our peer organizations, is at $1,000 calendar year deductible. And the next figure that you see, the $348,000, is the dollar value of the savings to the plan if the deductible was increased to $1,000. Option B is going to a $750 deductible from the $345, which would give us an approximate savings of $244,000 to the plan. Option C is to go from $345 to $500, which would give us a savings of approximately $180,000 to the plan. If you look on down, and I'll explain that just a little bit in just a moment. In item number 2, the prescription drug copay presently is at $1030.50. And changing that, as we discussed earlier, just going a $5 increase across the board would result in $100,000 savings to the health fund. Just the $5 increase. A raise in the network out-of-pocket expense from a $1,000 stop loss to a $6,000 stop loss, again, which is about par with our peer group, would constitute a savings of approximately $180,000 to the plan. Eliminating the end-of-the-year 3-month carryover provision would save the plan about $20,000. And raising the copay for the primary care physician visit from $25 to $30, approximately $32,000 in savings. So if you can see the different levels of deductible, estimated plan savings range, if we went to $1,000, would be approximately $680,000. If you go to $750, $576, and $500 would be $260,000. This does not include our discussion about the wellness plan, wellness program. That's one of the things that we'll get into next week. We're in the RFP process as far as taking bids for our services. We'll have to bid out a wellness program among other things, and we won't have those bid figures in until the end of September. Bid packets go out September 1. State law gives them 30 days to submit. So we would have the bids back in the end of September, know exactly where our cost would be. Some preliminary figures that I have received from a couple of potential providers on wellness, the biometric testing itself, just the lab work cost and the actual physical draw and cheek swabs is approximately $64 per person to do that. And the wellness program, and again, we'll get into the specifics in our discussion next week if y'all desire to do that, would be for the primary insured for the employee and the spouse of the employee if they're insured under our plan. The decisions are going to be tough on this as far as what to do about deductibles and copays. Bottom line is we've got to figure out a way to come up with a little over $820,000 to keep this plan solvent. That's one of the primary responsibilities that we have with this program. And I got asked, and Joel, I'm not sure if it was you that asked this, but I'm going to pin it on you anyway. Somebody asked in the past what it would cost if we went to a fully insured program. I got some preliminary figures on that as well. In health claims themselves in 2015, we spent $3.9 million on health and pharmaceutical claims. A fully insured program, the premium to the county based on those losses would be approximately $5.25 million. That is with no guarantee of the premium being fixed at 5.2. If the insurance company sees the claims erode in the first 3 months, they're going to hit you with an increase. The second 3 months, they'll hit you again. So that is not a locked out, guaranteed premium even at that. So the question that came up, was when does it make sense to stop being self-funded and go to fully insured? And my response to that's never. It just doesn't make sense. Our increase in cost would be in excess of 40% with no guarantees. And so that's why, we bring in the discussion about wellness programs and plan changes. And along with that, we'll have some other discussion as well next week about the possibility of implementing a dual plan program with the high deductible health savings account type approach with the plan as well. So that's where we are right now. But I wanted to let y'all know, number one, about that claim. It has occurred, and so we're going to be at about $1 million mark in the fund, which puts us at peril.
J.P. Lundstrom.
Would you revisit briefly why the company didn't cover that claim?
Yes, Tom, the excess of loss carrier that provides our stop loss out of our checkbook has the ability at renewal to revisit our claims. This claim was pending. We knew it was pending last year when we went out for bids. And so when the excess companies, we had 3 excess carriers just flat say, no, thank you, we don't want any. Our current incumbent carrier came back and took a look at it, and they were originally going to laser, which just means exclude, that claim at the level of $450,000. And John Taylor, our representative with USAble, which is Blue Advantage Administrators, which is our third-party administrator, got them negotiated down from $450 to $350. They could have lasered it completely, which means we would have had the entire cost.
So it was due to renewal,
yes,
timing and everything.
Yes.
Otherwise, they would have covered the excess.
Yes. They would have covered it at $175,000 if it had happened prior to that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Mr. Driver, I do have a question on number 4, remove 3-month carryovers. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
The carryover provision with health plans, if you have not reached your deductible during the year and you have out-of-pocket medical expenses that go towards your deductible in October, November, and December, then that amount carries over to the next year and goes toward your next year deductible. So instead of starting over January 1 with another $345 deductible and you've got $245 of covered expenses, then you've covered that much of next year's deductible.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Driver, the past few years we've had to infuse into the fund, and it looks very much like we need to do that again with this claim that puts us right about $1 million.
Yes.
And if my numbers are right, we need to be at 1.8.
1.85
at September.
By September 1.
September.
Yes.
What's your recommendation to us? Should we go ahead and put this funding in place?
Well, we budgeted for that, as you will recall, last year in the budget. We increased the health plan budget by $820,000 last year.
Right.
With this in mind, and it's going to be,
So
it's
that's
going to
already,
be.
that's already there for
It's
it.
there.
It just doesn't show
Yes.
in your number as far as
Right.
the plan budget. Okay, so
Right.
we've pre-allocated the money in that
Yes.
sense. Okay, I just want to make sure we didn't need to, because going into budget time, we need to.
Yeah, because last year
aware.
you asked me when y'all asked me when y'all wanted to put that in, and I said not yet. So
Right.
that's where we are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Any other comments or questions for Nelson? He will be back on Thursday evening, and then I think we'll be open for a lot of discussion. We've got a very lengthy agenda tonight.
Okay.
But anyway, Nelson, we'll look forward to next Thursday. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The next thing we have is number 8, an ordinance by J.P. Bowman. Yeah, you're the sponsor of this, but
Steve, would you go ahead and read that, please?
An ordinance appropriating the amount of $60,000 from the general fund to the building and grounds budget for 2016. Article 1, there is hereby appropriated the amount of $60,000 in the buildings line item in the building and grounds budget for 2016.
Okay, Judge, would you like to go ahead and take it from there?
okay, the next thing Steve has read, do I have a motion to accept this 8.1?
So moved.
Who has a second? I have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments from court? Do we have any public comments? Carla, would you please call the roll?
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Okay, Joe's voted. Next, Butch.
Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry.
Thank you, J.P. Bowman. The next thing we have is number 9, Butch Pond.
An ordinance changing the title of the Assistant Grants Administrator legal assistant position in the Grants Administrator budget, creating the position of paralegal in the County Attorney budget, and appropriating the amount of $20,543 from the general fund to the County Attorney budget for 2016. Article 1. The title of the personnel position of Assistant Grants Administrator, Legal Assistant, Grade 16 in the Grants Administrator budget of the General Fund is hereby changed to Public Utility and Assistant Grants Administrator, Grade 16 for 2016. There is hereby created the position of Paralegal, Grade 14 in the County Attorney budget of the General Fund for 2016. Article 3, there is hereby appropriated the total amount of $20,543 from the General Fund to the following line items in the County Attorney budget for 2016. County Attorney, full-time salaries, position 0122003, $15,091. Social Security, $1,154. Non-contributory retirement, $2,188. Health insurance, $2,055. Life insurance, $55. For a total appropriation of $20,543.
Yes, ma'am. This is where we had a situation where several years ago one person filled 2 part-time positions, and it's grown to where we needed a full-time position to assist the attorney. I moved to pass the 9.1.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you,
J.P.
Madam
Boyd.
Judge. I received a phone call from a concerned county employee about this position. And so in doing my research, talking with this county employee, and then speaking with several other county employees, they're concerned that the court is not going to give them a raise, which is what we'd like to give them, if we continue to create new positions. And I happen to agree with this county employee and the others that I spoke with also, I mean, our goal, I know we've said many times, would be to give our county employees that we already have a raise. And I just feel like what we're doing is we're burdening ourselves with an additional $20,000 for this year, $45,000 for next year, and then, of course, $45,000 every year after that. We're getting ready to enter the budget season. We're going to be talking. We're going to be asking departments to start cutting not positions, but start cutting things out of their budget. And so I just feel like that what we're doing is we're enabling ourselves with a new position that in talking with HR and in talking with these employees that, you know, we're not seeing that this position really does need to happen. I know this is nothing personal about anybody, but I know Ms. Bybee had stated that as the grants administrator, there were up to times that she would work 45 hours a week. And as a middle school administrator and as a teacher, I mean, I wasn't appalled by 45 hours a week. I worked 45 hours a week a lot of the time. And so I really wasn't appalled by the 45-hour week. And I have to say that many times, I know we're all hard workers here, and I'm not saying this about anybody, but lots of times when I get here at 4:40, 4:45, that parking lot out there is empty, which means to say that there's not a lot of the county employees working after 4:30, which they leave. So I'm just speaking on behalf of the fact that we're in a budget crisis here, and I think we're creating a new position that is not really necessary. I understand, and I've been told by many, that there is a personality conflict between this halftime position for Mr. Zaga and the halftime position for Mrs. Bybee. But a term that we use, you know, in the education field is put your big girl and big boy panties on and get busy and do your job that you need to do. And this is your livelihood. So do your livelihood. Do your work. Make sure that you do what you're supposed to do. And personalities in a time of budget crisis isn't going to cut it for me. And so therefore, I didn't take this decision lightly. I did my research. I talked with over 12 people about this. And I just have come to the conclusion that we don't need this position. We need to be mindful of the employees that we already have. We need to be mindful of taking care of them, giving them a possible raise, if at all, you know, if we can, taking care of what we have. And I'm not seeing the need for a new position. Thank you, Judge.
J.P. Usry.
You know, we can all appreciate all the research that you did, but one of the big things that would come from this position is it would give them the flexibility to bring in a whole lot of money in grant money. So while it's going to cost the county that much, the income from that is going to be much more substantial than what we're spending. And so there is actually return for our money here that there's not on hardly anything else that we do here. So it seems perfectly sensible to me personally that if we can hire somebody that will help us get 3 or 4 grants that we don't have time to now, that pays for it by themselves. And we're going to have additional work coming from what we're getting ready to pass here directly, where we're going to start monitoring all of the sewer systems for these communities that need it. That's got to be covered somewhere. And so, again, the income from that will pay part of the salary or most of it, and then they'll have time, to, like I said, to write grants and things. And we've already shown that the money from that would be significant. And so there are two sides to that coin, I guess is all I'm saying. And I really appreciate what you're saying, and we all need to look at that very hard. But in this particular instance, I think it's in the better interest of the county for us to go ahead and hire somebody to help us get that grant money and to actually put money into the coffers. Thank you.
J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I guess I agree with both the previous speakers in a sense here. I do think it's in our best interest that our grants and Public Utilities Office be adequately staffed, because there is some additional return that can come to the county. And I believe that we need that. I guess it was Ms. Sandage that sent out an email earlier with an attachment from Mr. Butler that clarified the duties of the current position that we have. And I'm really astonished at the list of duties and responsibilities that fell under the grants administrator that I assume have been ignored. Attend monthly Washington County Planning and Technical Review meetings, check bonds, letters of credit, maintain records of POA's financial activities, implement, maintain rules and regs of land development, amend and record meetings of the RDA monthly meetings, prepare monthly meeting packets for RDA. There's a lot of things there that this position, I don't think, has been doing when clearly the description has it listed there. So I am somewhat concerned that we're, in a sense, rewarding bad behavior. I mean, we have a person in the position that for some reason has been ignoring some of the duties listed here. So I'm fully supportive of having help for the Public Utilities and Grants Administration that we thought was happening, at least I did, only to find out it wasn't. But I cannot support this as drafted because I think we're rewarding bad behavior. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Judge, may
Yes.
I?
Yes, please. You're recognized.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the job you have to do, and I thank you for taking this seriously. I would point out 3 or 4 things. The position of the legal assistant was full-time before it was combined with the grants administrator job. And so the addition was the grants administrator part. It wasn't taking somebody who was part-time for the county attorney and turning that person into taking somebody away from grants and giving them to the county attorney. It was the other way around. Now, it wasn't taking anything away. It was combining duties, and it was then thought of as a way to increase efficiencies. It's awfully difficult for me as a county attorney to sit here and look at y'all and say, I never come to you with an ordinance that says, hey, I just saved you $300,000 because my office worked hard and deflected some liability in a lawsuit. I don't have that to tell you because I can't tell you what didn't happen, if that makes sense. But those of you who sat through the settlement negotiations, some of you who were called upon to sit through those settlement negotiations over the last 15, 16 months, and know what happened and where the exposure potentially was, know that this office, the county attorney's office, and I don't like to brag on myself. I find that horrible. I don't even like to brag on Laney, who helps me immeasurably all the time and has earned, just working for me, as I told you before, 100+ hours of comp time in the last 12 months. But one of the things I heard a lot last year during the budget cycle was we don't know what impact these lawsuits are going to have on our budget for 2016. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, not to brag, they had 0 impact. And one of the reasons is we in the county attorney's office worked hard to protect the taxpayer dollars that y'all spend. The efficient functioning of the county attorney's office makes county government work. I hate to... I don't like bragging. It makes me uncomfortable. My office serves every elected official, every department head, and yes, when I do my job right and when we do our job right, we save money for the taxpayers of this county. Third point I'd bring up, I appreciate J.P. Lloyd's statement. J.P. Lloyd, you didn't talk to me about it. And I would have appreciated the chance to make my case to you in person. That's all I'm saying. I didn't have that opportunity. So I kind of feel like I'm before you here tonight, hat in hand, and I am. And I wish it was different, but it's not. I need full-time help. If I don't have full-time help, the level of services to the county, the legal services to the county, will be degraded substantially. And what happens to county government will be degraded substantially. I can't, I actually, I'll tell you all this, and apples and oranges. I thought for a while about asking you all for a deputy attorney, okay, in this budget cycle. I'm not going to do that. All right, don't worry. But because I put pencil to paper to it, frankly, my numbers couldn't justify that. But I have to have help. If you expect me to maintain the level of service that I provide, I have to have full-time help. I can't do it by myself. Laney handles, I can't tell you how many bankruptcies, how many probates, how much litigation assistance, and we got a lot of it right now. We've got a lot of litigation. It's not the same kind that makes the headlines everywhere, but we've got a lot. If, as has been presented to me, at least under my understanding, this is actually going to be budget neutral, maybe even budget friendly, if, in fact, the person you give to Renee is able to get more grants in, is able to negotiate cost-sharing agreements, is able to help her get some more things done that will bring more money into the coffers of Washington County. I appreciate everything you said. I just really want you to consider what this office does for you as well when you vote. Thank you.
Yeah, J.P. Miss.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I just want to say one thing quickly. It's my understanding that when Mr. Butler had a full-time assistant in his office, it was a grade 12. It's now a grade 16 that's being used for that, which is a difference in pay. And we recently heard about some what I consider serious, compelling needs in the sheriff's office that I can't stop thinking about. So we've upgraded it and taken half the duties away from the grade 16 job. Thank you.
J.P. Lindstrom. Sorry.
Also known as Mr. Cellophane.
No.
My problem with this particular issue is I see it as a double-edged sword. I think Mr. Zaga already has a full-time helper. It's just being funded out of the Grants Administration budget. That's what needs to be fixed. I have no problems with your helper or what she's being paid. My problem is I don't know what to do with the Grants Administration help they're wanting to hire. I'd like to have more information on that. I don't really know exactly how much this $2 per household brings in on this sewer thing. I don't know why we're doing it to start with if they're in cities, why we don't let the cities be responsible for that. So I see it as two totally different issues. And this ordinance doesn't deal with it that way. So I'm not going to support this ordinance, but I do support your having your full-time help. So I'd like to see an ordinance come out dealing with these two issues separately. One dealing with changing the budget or suspend the budget rules and change it for Mr. Zaga, whatever needs to be done, and then deal with the Grants Administration Office problem. Thank you, Madam Chair.
J.P. Ecke.
I'm going to paraphrase something that from To Kill a Mockingbird. To really fully understand a person, you need to stand in their shoes and walk around in them for a while. Then you'll understand what they go through. I know it's easy for other people to judge and assess the work of other people, and they don't know what they really go through on a day-to-day basis. I admire and respect our county employees. I believe they work hard and they try to do an efficient job. I think I can discern the look of stress on people's faces when they're overwhelmed. And I saw that on our county prosecutor's face when he was going, I need help. Miss Bybee's face, I need help. We need to make this right and separate the two. I still see it as you have half. We went through 6 months. We're already starting the 7th month. And you should have that much money in your budget, Miss Bybee, to pay for whatever help you need. The issue is we need to get the money appropriated for Mr. Zega's office so that way Ms. Miller can continue the work that she does. And she is worth the grade that she was given. Her background and her education calls for that grade. To reduce the grade, I feel, would be slapping a county employee in the face saying you're just not worth it and you don't cut the mustard. Let's walk in her high heels for a day and see what she goes through. I guess that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Judge.
J.P. Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. You know, I don't think there's any question that Steve needs help in his office. And everything I've heard about his assistant is absolutely outstanding. That she does a fabulous job. Her credentials are unbelievable for that position. And she's probably underpaid based on her credentials. As far as Miss Bilby's situation there, you know, there's a lot of gray in what we've heard about that situation. She said she'd be glad to have whatever help she could get. You know, at this point, I would think that her budget might have enough to pay a part-time employee for the balance this year. And we can come back next year if we see clear evidence that she needs the additional an additional full-time, that we could come back later next year and add that person. So at this point, I'd like to see us consider the option of giving her a half-time person and make the changes in the budget so that Steve's budget reflects compensation of his personnel, and we either see if Ms. Bilby has enough money in her account to justify a part-time person. If not, make whatever adjustment we need to get that to happen. Thank you, Judge.
Were you making a motion?
I'll make a motion to that effect, yes. Number one, that Steve... I'm sorry?
We have a motion? Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead. Thank you, J.P. Bowman. I've got 2 or 3 more people I'm going to recognize, and then we'll move on to J.P. Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Mr. Zega, I'd like to personally apologize that I did not speak to you, but I have to say I already knew your point of view, and I did speak to 12 people, and I felt like I was a little overwhelmed with the 12 that I did speak to, so that was my total reason for not speaking to you. And on your point of needing help, I believe that a lot of county administrators could use your same argument, that they all need help. As a teacher, 28 kids, I need help. But I just feel like at this time that was my whole reasoning. And like I said, I don't want it to be anything personal between anybody. This was all a matter of just monies and dollars, okay? So please accept my apologies. Thank you.
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. I need Attorney Zega as our attorney, not as a part, so I'll wait for him. Attorney Zega, I have a question for you. From that side.
Do you mind if I stay out here?
You can stay out there, but it's for as your position on that. What is the proper procedure to sever the 2 positions in this ordinance? Is there a motion for that, or does it have to be amended?
You could do it. I don't know that the form the ordinance is in. I think you'd have to draft another ordinance, and I don't think you could consider it tonight.
Since we have a full quorum court meeting coming next Thursday night, I would move to table this and give us time to separate the 2. Is that in order?
certainly parliamentary it is. The motion to table is not debatable.
Do we get
Okay.
a second?
Okay. Carly, would you call the roll, please? Now, understand, this is to table this for tonight for further review. Carly? Okay, let me go back. Please repeat I don't want to mess this up.
Yes, Judge, thank you. I'm making a motion to table 9.1 for further consideration at our next regular meeting on next Thursday.
That'll be the 28th.
Right, and that would give us time to draft separation of the two positions. One would be for moving a full-time attorney assistant into the attorney's budget, and then one for the other side within the grants administration budget. So they would be actually two separate ordinances, and the monies would be in that fashion.
Okay, I want to understand that.
Thank you, Judge.
Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Joe Patterson?
Yes.
Butch Vaughn?
No.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls?
Yes.
Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
No.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Sue Madison?
Yes.
Joe Maxwell?
Yes.
Gary McHenry?
Yes.
Okay, this has been tabled for this evening, and then we will have materials prepared for next Thursday. Karen, is everything copacetic on this?
I just want to be sure you just want this one divided into two. Nothing about part-time monies. Just this divided in two.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Both going as a full-time position, one going into the county's
because
attorney's.
the only change in the grant budget is just changing the name of
Correct.
the position.
And in our discussion at our last meeting on this at the Personnel Committee, we're leaving the existing employee's salary where it's at. Is that correct? It stays within the grade range of the existing.
Well, right, the
County
way
attorney.
it is now, the one in the position that we have now that's in the grant administration budget, it's a grade 16. That
Yeah.
stays the same. It
Yes.
just changes title. There's all the money for that is still there. Now, the paralegal, the separation out, is a grade 14, but it's budgeted at the same hourly rate that
Okay.
she's being paid now. It is a different grade.
I understand it's a different
Yes.
grade. I just want to make sure that we don't take a pay cut for this individual.
Right, it's at the
All right,
same.
thank you. Yes,
it
that's what I
still
want.
falls within that grade.
Harvey, I'm going to go ahead and recognize you. There's a lot of questions, so please go right ahead.
Thank you, Judge. I want to know if there's enough money left in the in the grants administrator's budget to pay for a part-time person.
Yes, I mean, right now there's enough money to, you just change the title, there's enough money in that budget to pay for a full-time person.
Okay.
And if you want to do part-time, we just have to do it where we move money from the full-time to part-time.
Okay.
I mean, the way it's written now, she doesn't have any part-time monies,
Okay.
but yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I'd like for us to go ahead and try to figure out some way that we can go ahead and get a more thorough review of grants administration responsibilities and what the potential is there for either full-time or part-time before next Thursday also. Is there any way we can go ahead and do that, or do I need to make a motion to that effect, or what?
I think that's a simple request, J.P. Bowman, and I don't think it takes a motion to do that. Would it be?
I'm sorry, I was not listening to there.
I don't want to speak for Justice Bowman. Would you
Please
say
do.
it so?
Okay.
No, I'll do it if you want me to.
Please do. Go ahead.
I think Justice Bowman wanted to know if we could do an analysis of a part-time versus full-time position in grants and have it ready for Thursday.
What do you mean by analysis?
I'd like to better understand all of the duties that she feels are not.
You'd like to see what
Yes.
a part-time person would do.
Yeah, what
Okay.
part-time or full-time addition would add to that department.
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
Thank you.
J.P. Maxwell, I know there's discussion going on. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know Ms. Bybee also brought us a list the last time of kind of the breakdown of what the grants that were available, the fees that would be available to try to obtain, and then also the additional revenue for the exact number of houses for each of these corporation areas that we would be managing their sewer departments for. So I do know we have that. If anybody's missing that, I think we can get another copy.
Okay.
I can include that in the packet when I send out. We do that. Yeah.
I'd like to speak to Ms. Beeks, please. I would also like to know, she gave us some preliminary numbers and so forth on this $2 per household that we talked about raising possibly to $4. Of course, there are a lot of empty lots that we won't draw anything on right now, but I'd like to know what we would actually draw from the houses that are there. How much will that contribute to the job she's asking for? Well, I know, but when come Wednesday night, Thursday night, I want to see that number. And then I would also like to know how many empty lots are sitting out there that will potentially come on, and they will in time. So it'll give us a better long-range understanding of what kind of revenue is going to come in to cover this expenditure. As Mr. Zaga said, if it ends up being budget neutral, that's wonderful. Everybody's happy. Thank you so much.
Okay. I think, Karen, there's some confusion, but I think she'll accept your phone calls if you have any more input for Karen. So I'm volunteering her service. Okay. That has been tabled. We will move on to number 10, which is J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. We have an ordinance recognizing revenue and portioning of that revenue for the JDC. Attorney Zaga, would you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance recognizing additional revenues of $31,167 in the JDC Grant Fund and appropriating $31,167 from the JDC Grant Fund to the Juvenile Detention Center Grant and Aid 2016-2017 budget for 2016, Article 1. There is hereby recognized additional revenue of $31,167 in the state grants revenue line item of the JDC Grant Fund for 2016. Article 2, there is hereby appropriated the amount of $31,167 from the JDC Grant Fund to the following line items in the JDC GIA 2016-17 budget for 2016. JDC GIA 2016-17 general supplies $1,932, small equipment $6,618, janitorial supplies $1,500, medicine and drugs $1,000, food $1,500, clothing and uniforms $2,500, computer and IT equipment $3,882, detainee supplies $4,000, other professional services $300, postage $2,000, dues and memberships $1,435, meals and lodging $1,000, training and education $3,500 for a total appropriation of $31,167.
Thank you, Attorney Zaga. Here's another case of our grants administrator bringing us money. I move to pass 10.1.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, J.B. Usser.
Can somebody explain to me exactly what this is we're doing here? What's this money going for?
Renee? Would you please explain number 10 on this ordinance? There's some questions on it. Thank you.
This is a grant that's received by the state. It's just helped to supplement JDC's operating budget. They use it for material, supplies, equipment. It's something that they get every year.
So it's not like a Hofnot or something like that, but it's just to go into their regular, everyday stuff.
Well, this money is separated out, but it's used to purchase equipment, supplies, and some training that they need just to supplement them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
J.P. Lloyd.
Thank you, Judge. Do we have to reapply for this every year, or is
Yes,
it just
ma'am.
something that rolls over?
No, we have to reapply every year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Renee on this one? Okay, we have a motion and a second. No other discussion. Do I have any public comment? No comments. Carly, would you call the roll?
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Vaughn.
Yes.
Bill Essery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison. Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
This ordinance is passed. Number 11, J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. Number 11 is an ordinance that appropriates some revenue and also recognizes some revenue for the various funds in the Sheriff's Department. The first section is $15,691 for various drug enforcement, state and federal items. The Article 2 at $65,607 is for monies that we have expended in labor, but this is also has already been reimbursed by such as the Walmart Shareholders Convention where the police, so it is a budget neutral, although it appears to appropriate funds. I move to pass 11.1.
I have to read it first.
I will
You're
let you read.
recognized.
Attorney Zaga, would you please read 11.1?
You'd have to suspend the rules, but you can do that, yes.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Title only.
An ordinance recognizing and appropriating additional revenues of $15,691 and appropriating $65,607 in various funds for 2016.
I will now move to approve or pass 11.1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public comment? Carly, would you call the roll?
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond. Bill Essery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry.
Number 12, J.P. Lundstrom.
Mr. Zaga, would you read 12.1, please?
An ordinance appropriating the total amount of $65,221 to salary line items in the sheriff and jail budgets for 2016. Article 1, there is hereby appropriated the total amount of $65,221 to salary line items in the sheriff and jail budgets for 2016 is attached and summarized by fund as follows. General, $12,363. Jail, $52,858 for a total appropriation of $65,221.
This ordinance is to cover the flex slot positions. Oh, I'm sorry. This ordinance is to cover the flex slot positions that the sheriff brought to us the other day. I didn't really realize we were going to do this tonight, but I'm glad we are. We'll get it out of the way. He was able to answer some questions I had on it just prior to the meeting, but some of the people on this long list have met the requirements by going through their training, and some of them have not. And they will not receive this extra money until they have obtained the training that is required to get it. But we're making a $65,221 appropriation to this program to get our officers' salaries up to where they're more commensurate with all the other salaries in Benton County and Fayetteville, Springdale, etc. So I make a motion that we pass 12.1.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? J.P. Harbison.
Is this money already in the sheriff's budget, or is this coming out of unappropriated reserves? It's coming out of unappropriated reserves.
Right.
All of it, or just the 12,000?
All of it. Oh, okay. 12,000 will come out. Well, depends on what it is. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, discussions? We have a motion and a second. Do I have any public comment? Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Essery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry.
Thank you.
The next thing we have is the county judge report. At the request of the Washington County Bar Association, I am asking that Stephen Parker be reappointed to the County Library Board. That will be for a 5-year term to expire in 2022. The next thing that I have is a report from our Agri Extension agent. Bernie, would you come forward, identify yourself, and tell us J.P. Ecke had requested that you appear, so.
Judge.
Yes. I'm sorry.
You need to have a motion and a second.
On that first part? Okay. Let's. I have a motion and a second. All in favor of appointing Stephen Parker to the Library Board? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Karen. Next, Bernie.
Yes, I'm Bernie Kurtz, the County Extension Agent. The title is County Extension Agent Staff Chair, but what that means is I lead the staff of your County Extension Agents, which when we're full staff, we're 13, which is a very hard-working staff. I just want to update you all for what has occurred since the budget cycle. If y'all will recall, we were 3 members short on staff. Y'all appropriated funds, which allowed me to hire 2 to support the existing staff. We hired a county extension agent that has animal science training, which he comes to us well trained already. He's had real experience working with livestock producers in this county. So I was very fortunate to hire someone that already knew our local producers, which saves a lot of my time for going out to the field with him and doing some training. He was here this evening, but he had to leave to go to the Farm Bureau evening meeting this evening as well. I did also hire a 4-H program assistant. This is a good buy for you all that you made into versus supporting the 4-H agent's position. I very surprisingly had a large field of applicants, and the one that was hired has a tremendous background in youth education, specifically wildlife education, with a degree working for pennies, which is I hope to keep her for an extended period of time before someone else finds out that I have her and takes her away from the county office. So they came to us, both positions on board, April and May of this year. So thank you for that. They're hitting the ground running. Our 4-H PA, her name is Jane. Jane has been doing some summer 4-H programs at the office. Tremendous. I'm just so impressed with the quality that she's already presenting, and certainly with Josh Burks from the ag agent doing a tremendous job. Now, the void of vacancy that we've had, so I'm looking at what we were, at what point we were with servicing clients of Washington County to today. And I have them before me, but what I'm finding astonishing is that we have been servicing the same amount of clients with 3 short of employees, yet they're on board now, and with the same accomplishments. But that does come with a little sacrifice. There was 3 employees who took up that slack. And early this evening, I heard, overtime and such, more than 40 hours a week. Those employees were putting in 60-plus hours a week. And that I'm a little concerned about burnout on 1 or 2 of those. But I'm hoping to survive that. And again, thank you for supporting the need that we have. One of the greatest accomplishments, I get a smile every time I talk about our 4-H kids. They're your kids. Currently we do not have a 4-H agent, and it's hard not to do comparisons. And here in Northwest Arkansas, many of us often compare other things besides extension to Benton County. Benton County has 2 full-time 4-H agents, and we don't have a 1. Now, they do not have a 4-H PA, and thank you for providing one to us. But we're right up the neck to neck with Benton County, even beating them in some areas, which just excites me that we can still do that. that it's good to have rivals, and there are rivals, as they are in other things as well. But to understand, there are 75 counties in Arkansas, and each year there's record book winners in various subject areas, but the list of those possibilities are small in comparison to our 4-H youth. Today we have approximately 500 kids active in our county 4-H program. But statewide, only 25, sometimes 28 of those kids are recognized statewide as Project Record Book winners. We have 4 of those here in Washington County. That's a great achievement. And that just tells you the type of staff I have at the office, the extra commitment they have to our kids of Washington County. That I just get so excited with that. Other exciting things, the grounds that the office and the grounds that you all have provided for us in the office, the grounds maintenance of the building. Y'all don't spend but a little bit of money on it, and the little bit is when I have volunteers who keep the grounds in the shape they are, spend a little dollar here and there for plant material or mulch, and appreciate that support that's given. But those are volunteers in the Master Gardener program, and that project that they do for you won the State Project of the Year this year, just recognized about 6 weeks ago, and I applaud those Master Gardeners. For those of you who have not seen the extension grounds in recent years, y'all need to come by. It's immaculate. It's just gorgeous. Those Master Gardeners are doing a tremendous job. Every Wednesday morning, if you want to come and help, they're there many times at 7 o'clock in the morning. If you want to come and have a little coffee with them, they break at 10 o'clock. I just love the volunteer work that they put in. Our Family Consumer Sciences program, the greatest accomplishment this past year, this current year, is that we have been trying to break into the Marshallese community to work with that community on changing some diets, their habits of eating. The Marshallese community has a health issue, a health crisis of eating American food. Their system, their bodies are not geared towards American, so their propensity to having dietary issues is greater than most of us. And we have a person on staff that works with enrolls families to attend at least 8 trainings where they understand what they're eating affects their bodies, their health. And I'm so excited we have been able to break into that community, and we're graduating. When they participate in 8 of those trainings, we're graduating, and the goal was 85 or so a year. We're above 100 a year now, which is fantastic. We have been in the Hispanic community for several years now, and still tremendous results coming from that. So I just wanted to highlight some of the areas that your staff is doing, and just want to commend the staff that I had in place prior to us hiring some folks for the extra hours they put in to continue the need that the county residents have been expecting, and my goal was not to slow down and not fill some of those needs that were there with some voids. Certainly the budget season is starting. I would love to have a full-time 4-H agent, so I will be visiting with you all about that later as the season comes on. And thank you, Judge, for the opportunity. Thank you, J.P. Ecke, for the invite.
I think J.P. Ecke has a question or a comment.
I am so impressed with the job that you and your staff are doing with the 4-Hers. And if you haven't had an opportunity to get to know these kids, they are tremendous. Not only that, I was thinking about them one day, and this is what I felt. They are our 401k. And if we invest in their future, we'll be receiving returns on that investment for years to come. And that will make Washington County all the better. They're bright, they're intelligent. When they graduate from college, their applications are first on the list from a lot of employers because they know they've been well trained in ethics and fundamentals and common sense. What you're doing is fantastic, and I applaud you. And I would really like for us to try and come up with creative ways to get these 4-Hers. They are our future. They really are. And if we invest in them, we'll be the better for it. Thank you.
J.P. Maxwell.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I would echo that as well. It looks like you've taken a little bit and made it stretch to do a lot, and I know you can't do that forever, but we appreciate the fact that you have done that over the last budget year. And I know the core issue was that the state decided not to fund, maybe approve but not to fund the portions that we needed. So when we were in that discussion last year during the budget, I know we talked about reapproaching the state to see how they were going to handle that this year and if we could get them to pick their slack back up. And I just wondered if you could give us an update on how those talks are going or anything that's coming out of that.
J.P. Maxwell, that is areas that's not what I do. There's an extension administration that works on that. What has been shared to me from extension administration is that the support that has been asked from all counties is not going to go away. Even though that state may come through with some funds, the support that has been asked is not going to go back to where it was. That is what I'm hearing.
J.P. Harbison.
We've got the Washington County Fair coming up in the end of August and September, and the Extension Office really, with hundreds of volunteers in this county, put on one of the best fairs in the state. So I hope everybody goes out and visits a fair and see what a good job, see what all these kids are doing, showing their animals and everything else that they do at the fair. Yeah. Well, kind of congratulations before, but, y'all do a wonderful job putting on that fair. And I know it's a lot of hard work.
It's not, if I may address the fair, the fair, Washington County Fair, y'all need to be proud of it. Like J.P. Harbison is saying, it is the largest in the state as far as the county fair goes. But it's not the county office that's fully responsible for that. We have a number of wonderful, strong VOAG departments in the high schools. They look to us to train some of these young kids, so by the time they get to the high school, that they've got them, and we don't mind doing that. We have tremendous young kids that go, certainly strong for them to take over when they get to high school, and those OI kids, we support them as ag agents go as well. So yes, it takes a lot of folks to put on the biggest fair in Arkansas.
Wednesday.
It's the last week. It's always the Labor Day weekend. It always ends that weekend. So it's always the last week of August into the first few days of September.
J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I need to have my memory corrected here, perhaps. It was my understanding that it wasn't the legislature and the governor that cut funding for extension offices. It was the University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture. And which is the
revenue stabilization process that the state legislature has in place cut the support that the legislature had supported.
Specifically for extension offices?
For the Division of Agriculture, which the County Extension Office fall under.
Right.
Correct.
So the Division of Agriculture made the decision where to accommodate the cuts.
There was what was funded from the legislature through after the revenue stabilization, we were at level funding. So there were no funds were moved around by the Division of Agriculture. It was status quo.
Well, I don't understand how you ended up short then. We were told that the counties would have to pick up the slack.
We have not come to, as all 75 county and county agents have not come to the quorum courts for an increase to the support that we had, and it went back to the early 2000s. It could have been 2001 from the last time we asked, if you want 5 agents, this is what it is. That, I believe, went back to 2001. So an ask has not been made to increase that until last year. The state legislature has not increased any funding to the Division of Agriculture for the 8 years now. So we are certainly rewarding good agents for raises, which none occurred this year. But what's happened is salaries increased, same amount of money. You can't have that same amount of employees you had 10 years ago. So what happened was vacancies occurred, as happened in my office. Had one that was took away from me by Texas A&M. He went to Texas. He's a county agent in Texas now. One was took away from us, now staff chair in Benton County. And the other left us because of health reasons. So those vacancies occurred at the time where there was no money.
I think the legislature in general has not exactly been showering higher ed with money. They've been very modest in their funding of higher ed.
Certainly higher ed is part of Extension is part of the University of Arkansas system, right. But we're certainly funded separately. So when y'all hear that the higher ed is allowing tuition increases, none of those monies transfer over to the Division of Agriculture.
Thank you, Judge.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you very much, Bernie.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. The next thing we have is a report from the Washington County Planning Office. Julia, would you come forward, please? You're recognized.
Good evening. I just want to give you an update on the county dirt pit. As you know, the County Planning Board met on July 12th to hear a report, discuss, and deliberate on the proposed dirt pit facility between Brentwood and Winslow on the east side of 71. At that meeting, county staff presented the detailed plans for the pit to the board. The plans for the pit were collaboratively created by the Planning Office, the County Chief of Staff, the County Road Department, County Contract Engineer, and the County Environmental Affairs Office. County staff assured that the statutory process was followed and went above and beyond statutory requirements in some aspects to ensure that a quality plan was created. At that meeting, the County Planning Board, and I sent this out today, got this filed. I don't know if y'all got a copy of it or not.
Juliet, would you get a little closer to your mic, please?
I sent this out. This was filed with the county clerk yesterday. But at that meeting, after fully reviewing the staff report and the plan for the site, which was prepared at the direction of Randy Laney, the County Planning Board Chairman, the Washington County Planning Board found that the county staff have collaboratively created a good plan for the proposed county dirt pit. And for all the reasons stated in the staff report, the Planning Board felt that the proposal would create a compatible, environmentally sound, and safe development, which generally adheres to the intent, principles, and consideration in the county's adopted land use plan. And that was the plan that was to be considered with the statutory process that County Attorney Steve Zaga presented to y'all as the appropriate process for the expansion of that facility. So the County Planning Board did recommend. There were 5 members present of the 7 board, 2 absent. All 5 of those that were present voted for the proposal that the County Road Department proceed with the plan for development with a list of conditions. If you recall, the statutory process was somewhat different from our standard process that we do for development, but it encompassed many of the same issues that we look at: dust suppression, environmental issues, looking at compatibility for surrounding property owners, notification of neighbors, and permitting through ADQ and other appropriate bodies. y'all have any questions.
Anyone have any questions on that? Thank you for the thorough. Now, are you going to talk about this 2101, which is the emergency ordinance ratifying the conditional use? Is that yours, or am I turning that back over to the court?
No. If y'all have any questions about the conditional use
Why don't you just
permit?
sit there?
Okay, I'll sit here. Okay.
Okay, this is going to be, we're going to go to 2101. And whose is that?
That's Ann's draft.
Ann, that's yours, 2101, emergency ordinance. Okay, Steve, would you read the ordinance, please?
An emergency ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board, whereas the Planning and Zoning Board granted a conditional use permit on June 30th for Duca Residential, and whereas immediate ratification is necessary by the Quorum Court to prevent undue delay and expense to the applicant, and whereas ratification will not affect any appeal rights any part person may have, now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1, that the conditional use permit for Duca Residential granted by the Planning and Zoning Board is hereby ratified. Article 2, Emergency Clause. It is hereby determined that it is in the public's best interest for this ordinance to be effective immediately, and the general health, safety, and welfare of the citizens are affected by such for the reasons as set out above. Therefore, an emergency is declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be and is effective from the date of its passage.
Okay. Basically, this was a family split, 1.5 acres into 2 lots. It meets all the regulations in the county. I move that we pass 21.1.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. J.B. Maxwell. We did that in the earlier part when I was making. Didn't we?
The agenda at the adopted.
I'm sorry, Karen, talk.
Yes, you moved it up under the adoption of the agenda.
I thought.
Just one.
Well, the other one fit right in with the judge's report. This one was a move, so yes. Okay, thanks, Joel.
Can you talk?
Okay, here we're 2105. I had a motion and I had a second. This has an emergency ordinance, only requires 1 reading. Is this correct, Steve?
It could go conceivably to 3, but to pass on first reading, it needs 2/3.
Yes, you're recognized. Open for discussion.
Thank you, Judge. I guess this is for J.P. Harbison, if I may. Just give us a brief why we're doing an emergency clause, why we want it to be emergency, please. Thank you.
Well, I probably need to let Juliet answer that.
I'm pointing to Steve.
Okay, so
Steve,
would you?
You usually do these as emergencies because you want to give the developer the opportunity to go ahead and start. These are legislative acts. Zoning acts are purely legislative. So if you put it on 3 readings and did it 90 days, then you're now talking about 120 days before it becomes effective because it has to be published. And so this keeps a 4-month delay from happening, essentially. And you've done it for every other zoning ordinance that I know of that you ever passed.
That answered your question, Mr. Lloyd. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Now, this, as the attorney says, this takes 2/3 to pass this. Okay. Any public comment on this? Okay. Carla, would you call the roll?
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Vaughn.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Even Madison. Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry.
Thank you. I think we need a break. It's 7:30. We've been at this an hour and a half, and I think it'd be good to stretch your legs and go to the ladies' room or whatever you want to do. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to get started. I think a little break did us all good. The next one we're coming into is our committee reports. County Services, J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. The County Services Committee met on July 5th, and we
had a report from the planning office, which was fairly routine. In fact, Miss Ritchie didn't attend. So, and then we had a discussion and a report from Angela Ledgerwood at the animal shelter. Things seem to be fairly routine in terms of animals coming in, going out. And then we talked about the feral cat population, or the feral cat colonies, and how that works. TNR is the name of the program, Trap, Neuter, Release, where they catch feral cats, neuter or spay them, and release them back. And they are in the custody of some entity, and in most cases with the Humane Society of the Ozarks. We also clarified that there is not a fee to drop off an animal at the animal shelter, so some misinformation out there about that was clarified, that we don't charge to bring in an animal, which would be kind of counterproductive. I think people would just drop them off in paper boxes if that were the case. The remaining items that we discussed, Judge, are on our agenda later on, so I'm not going to go over them again. We'll just discuss them as they come up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have is Public Works. J.P. Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. July 5, we had a very enthusiastic discussion about the use of GPS devices on county vehicles. And we learned that there's been a problem with some of the units that were sent for a trial basis. And so there has been an exchange between Charles and the people that are providing those units. And they are providing completely new, updated units, one of the most recent things available. And they've got about 10 of those on the way, which will be installed. Charles has removed the old units from the vehicles that they had before that was not transmitting data like they were supposed to. So we hope to have those installed and maybe even have a little bit of information before our next meeting. And then we had a report from the Buildings and Grounds Superintendent, Ron Wood. And unfortunately, Ron tells us we got a whole lot of HVAC units out there. There's some of them are up to 30 years old. And it's kind of hard to predict how those things are going to go out. But that's something that I think he said they range from 2 years old to 30 years old. So we'll probably be having to deal with some of that here in the near future. He also shared about this process we voted on tonight for the carpet, which Mr. Cochran made a motion about, and we just approved. I think one of the things he told me that kind of got my attention was the fact that we will probably be looking at as much as $300,000 next year to seal the parking lot, the parking deck out here. So we're talking about a lot of money there, and of course he's got other issues out there for a roof on a building down at the road department, other miscellaneous items here that he has that trying to give us perspective about what we might be looking at the rest of this year and into next year. And that concludes our report. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, sir. Personnel, J.P. Pond.
Yes, ma'am. We met July 11th at 5:30. It was called to order, and we had our presentation, JSAP committee report by salary consultant Blair Johansson. Blair reported that JSAP saw a few positions that were evaluated and rated at the most recent meeting. He described the positions of the paralegal, of the county attorney's department, and public utility assistant grant administrator with the grants administration department. Stated that the paralegal position has been rated at a grade 14, with the salary ranges being between $29,690 and $39,587, while the public utility position has been rated at a grade 16, with a minimum being $32,704 and up to $43,605. Then we had a discussion on employee needs of the offices of the county attorney and the county grant administrator. And we had a motion by J.P.N. Harbison to separate the current position into two separate positions and recommended a due pass of such to the Quorum Court. The motion was seconded and approved unanimously in the Personnel Committee, and And that's the one that was tabled this evening to separate into two separate ordinances. So we're going to have, so we've gone from one position shared by two departments to two separate positions, and now we're going to have it two separate positions by two separate ordinances. In other business, I read an excerpt from the regular Quorum Court minutes of November 10th, 2011 regarding Judge Edwards' position on the millage reduction. At that meeting, she advised that we not reduce the millage, but if we were going to, I believe, only make it about half as much as what we did. Thank you.
Next thing, we have jail law enforcement. J.P. Lundstrom.
We did meet on July the 11th. Most of the reports were pretty standard. It was reported that our animal calls are up slightly, mainly due to the time of year, and not because of the new ordinance or the changed ordinance. Sheriff Tim Helder stated that the county law enforcement employees are underpaid, and he brought forth this recommendation that we went over in our last meeting. We just passed that ordinance a while ago, correcting that situation, because Rick Hoyt had presented a comparison of pay between Benton County, Washington County, Fayetteville, Springdale, etc., and we were below all of those in most cases. I think there were two areas that we were actually ahead of them a couple of dollars an hour, but primarily we were well under them. But a resolution requesting the state of Arkansas to fully fund the cost of housing and caring for state prisoners was also discussed. That resolution is on the agenda tonight. We'll be looking at it very shortly. The motion was made by Sue Madison to move that on to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. That resolution, along with a letter from the judge and the sheriff, will be given to Robin D. Lundstrom, who's state legislature, to attempt to get a bill presented before the legislature to fully fund these county expenses. Governor Asa Hutchinson was bragging last night in the RNC, Republican National Convention for you Democrats. He was bragging that he's got $177 million extra money down there, so he wants to reduce income tax slightly. And Tom Lundstrom is never against reducing taxes when it's possible. But I would first like to see that our bills are paid and then see how much excess revenue we have. And I don't like these unfunded mandates that come from the state, constantly increasing our cost of doing business while the county keeps diminishing in size and revenue because of annexations of the cities. So I hope that everybody listens to that resolution very closely and we get a unanimous vote on it. Thank you, Madam Judge.
Ordinance review, J.P. Essery.
The Ordinance Review Committee met on July the 18th, and we are slowly working our way through that. We had quite a lengthy discussion on setting agendas, and we have a portion of that we're going to be voting on tonight from the last one, and we're just continuing to work our way through that. So that concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you. The next thing we have is number 15, an ordinance amending Washington County Code. J.P. Essery.
An ordinance amending Washington County Code sections 2-1, 16-11, and 16-12. And ladies and gentlemen, I think you've done this with me before, but I'm not going to struck through portions. I'm going to read the ordinance as it will exist. Whereas the Quorum Court has been reviewing the Washington County Code of Ordinances, and whereas it has been determined that sections of the code are in need of amendment, now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1, Washington County Code Section 2-1 is hereby amended to read as follows. Section 2-1, County Seal. A, the attached seal is hereby adopted. You know what? Y'all need to strike the bowlegs A. The attached seal is hereby adopted as the official seal for the county, and the seal is hereby incorporated herein by reference. Article 2, Washington County Code Sections 1611 and 1612 are hereby amended to read as follows. A, all motor vehicles operated by Washington County, Arkansas, except those excluded herein, shall have the official seal of Washington County, Arkansas, affixed thereto in such a manner as to clearly and distinctly identify the property as being operated by Washington County, Arkansas. B, all road equipment operated by Washington County, Arkansas, shall have the official seal of Washington County, Arkansas, or the words, quote, property of Washington County, Arkansas, close quote, affixed thereto in such a manner as to clearly and distinctly identify the property as belonging to Washington County, Arkansas. Section 16-12 exclusions. Motor vehicles assigned to the office of the Sheriff of Washington County, Arkansas shall be excluded from the provisions of this article, provided, however, that the Sheriff shall cause those vehicles in the patrol and detention divisions to be clearly marked as Sheriff's Office vehicles. B, motor vehicles assigned to the office of the Coroner of Washington County, Arkansas shall be excluded from the provisions of this article, provided, however, that the Coroner shall cause those vehicles assigned to the Coroner's office to be clearly marked as Coroner's Office vehicles.
And I make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
It's not an appropriation ordinance, so if you want it passed tonight, you're going to need to move to suspend the rules and move it up.
Okay, I'll move to suspend the rules and read by title only, second time.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read it by title only. Yes, J.P. Cochran.
Yes, Judge. This is directed to Attorney Zega. On the second page, 1611A, the next to the last line where it says identify the property being operated by Washington County, should we re-include the word as?
Yes, you should. That's
okay. I would suggest that as an amendment.
I think you can do that as a Scrivener's.
Okay, Scrivener's error. All right, very good. Thank you.
Unless there's some objection from your colleagues.
We have suspended the rule and placed it to read.
We haven't done it yet, Judge. They have to vote.
Okay. Just let's do a roll call. We suspend the rules and place it. Carly?
Joe Patterson?
Yes.
Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls?
Yes.
Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke? Ann Harbison? Sharon Lloyd? Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Eva Madison? Sue Madison? Joe Maxwell? Gary McHenry?
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Sections 2-1, 16-11, and 16-12.
Move to suspend the rules, read by title only on the third time.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Title only.
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Sections 2-1, 16-11, and 16-12.
All right, so now we move to pass this.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Do I have any public comment? With no further comment, Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Joe Patterson?
Yes.
Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls?
Yes.
Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke? Ann Harbison? Sharon Lloyd? Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Eva Madison? Sue Madison? Joe Maxwell? Gary McHenry?
Number 16, J.P. Madison.
Mr. Zago, would you read 16.1, please?
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 2.7-35, whereas Washington County Code Section 2.7-35 provides that animals being returned to their owners must be altered or the owner must pay an increased redemption fee, and whereas the animal shelter director and veterinarian have indicated that spaying or neutering is not appropriate for every animal, and whereas said code section should be amended to account for those animals for which alteration is not appropriate. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington, State of Arkansas, Article 1. Washington County Code Section 2.7-35 is hereby amended to read as follows. A, definition. All dogs and cats in the rural areas of the county that do not have identifying information affixed to them shall be deemed, quote, stray, close quote. Identifying information is identified as any type of information in writing or otherwise that would clearly put a person on notice as to whom the dog or cat belong and how to contact said owner. B, impoundment of stray dogs and cats. The animal control officer of the county sheriff's office or any other deputy is authorized to take charge and impound said stray dogs and cats at the owner's expense. Failure to claim said dog or cat within 3 days shall subject the dog or cat to adoption or euthanasia. C, dogs or cats with identifying information returned to owner's impoundment. Dogs or cats that have identifying information will be returned to the owner at no cost unless said owner cannot be contacted within 24 hours, at which time said dog or cat shall be subjected to impoundment at the owner's expense. Failure to claim said dog or cat within 10 days of impoundment shall subject the dog or cat to adoption or euthanasia. D, violation. This section shall be amendatory to ordinance number 92-34, and a violation of this section will be punishable as set out therein. E, upon the first violation of the ordinance from which this section was derived, said stray dog or cat shall be microchipped at the expense of the owner. Any dog or cat impounded more than once shall be spayed or neutered at the owner's expense before being released to the owner. In accordance with state statute, all required vaccinations shall be current before the dog or cat leaves the shelter. F, subject to subsection C above, the owner of any stray dog or cat to whom said dog or cat is returned shall pay either 1, $20 per day to the county beginning 24 hours after intake if the animal is spayed or neutered, or 2, $200 to the county if the animal is returned at the owner's option without being spayed or neutered unless deemed medically inappropriate by the shelter veterinarian, at which time the medical condition has abated. The animal will be required to be spayed/neutered. Provided, however, that if a dog or cat was spayed or neutered at the time it came into county custody, then the return fee as provided in subsection F1 shall apply. G, severability clause. If any court of competent jurisdiction finds that any section, clause, sentence, or phrase of the ordinance from which this section was derived is invalid or unconstitutional, that finding in no way affects the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance from which this section was derived.
Thank you, Mr. Zaga. Ms. Ledgerwood brought this ordinance to us because they had a situation where an animal was brought into the shelter in need of medical attention that the shelter could not provide, but the animal was not spayed or neutered. And so they found themselves in this predicament of, do we try to spay or neuter it and hurt it worse or let it go for medical treatment? And so by changing this, it allows them to release an animal almost on a temporary basis for a situation like that. Or if the shelter veterinarian just simply found that it wasn't medically appropriate to spay or neuter an animal. So it gives a little bit more flexibility at the discretion of our shelter veterinarian as to whether we spay or neuter immediately or defer that. So I would move to suspend the rules and advance this to second reading by title only.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 2.7-35.
Okay. So now I would move to suspend the rules and advance to third and final reading by title only.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
I now move to pass 16.1 with the Scrivener's error corrected.
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 2.7-35.
Got ahead of myself. I now move to pass 16.1 with the Scrivener's errors corrected.
Okay. Jackie Lloyd.
Thank you, Judge. On the section under the $200, has that always been in place, or are we now raising? I mean, are we now costing?
It's always been there.
It's always been there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not adding monies to our people out there in the county? No. Okay. Thank you.
No, we're not.
Any other discussion? Any public comment? Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Usery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Eki. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
Number 17, Jackie Madison.
Thank you, Judge. 17 and 18 are very similar. They just deal with different cities. 17.1 deals with the city of Prairie Grove. 18.1 deals with the city of Goshen. It is approving an interlocal agreement whereby our grants administrator / public utilities coordinator would monitor those community sewer systems, so we'd have some consistency within the county on those, and then in exchange we would collect a fee from the users of those systems. So that's actually what brought up this whole discussion about the employee that we spent a lot of time talking about. So and Mr. Zaga, I think I'm going to move that we suspend the rules and allow Mr. Zaga to read 17.1 by title only for the first time.
Second. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read the title only. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
A resolution approving an interlocal agreement with the City of Prairie Grove regarding the regulation of community sewer systems.
Thank you. So I'd now move to pass 17.1.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
Okay.
It's a
Any
resolution.
discussion?
Oh.
I'm sorry. Do what?
It's just a resolution. We don't have to read it again, right?
No, it's one.
Right. Okay. Well, somebody was saying we needed to read it again.
No. JP Essery.
Okay. We visited with Steve and Renee on this about the $2 and about how this whole thing works. And it seems like the $2 is the most reasonable amount. It will be enough to cover the money that we collect. And if we were, because I was thinking, well, maybe there's an opportunity for us to do something different. But if we were to raise it, my understanding is that many of these are collected along with the POA fees. If we were to raise that to the POAs are going to go in. We may raise it $1, they're going to raise it $2 or $3 to their constituents. And so rather than create the domino effect, I think that the $2 seems to make the most sense all the way around. I just want all of us to be aware because there was some question about where the $2 came from and kind of what it entailed. But essentially, that's it. Is that correct, Renee?
Go ahead, Renee. You're recognized.
I think our discussion was that $2 we thought was adequate. If you raised it any more beyond that, then I think that it could create a hardship for the subdivisions. In addition to the $2 fee, the admin fee, they're already being required to put up long-term reserves and 5 years operating expenses per our ordinance. And so I was just hesitant to charge them any additional fee because it's already going to be a substantial increase for them.
Yes, J.P. Lloyd.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Bybee, did the City of Prairie Grove contact us about this agreement, or did we contact them and ask them to do this agreement?
Mr. Zaga worked on the interlocals, so I'll let him answer.
I contacted Prairie Grove sort of at Ms. Bybee's suggestion and request, but this was done before, as I remember it, at some point with maybe not Prairie Grove, but some other municipality when we had and I can't remember who that is.
With our previous ordinance, we had interlocal agreements with City of Farmington and City of Fayetteville. We did not have an interlocal agreement with Goshen. It was the thought, we had several meetings about this ordinance with Mr. Zaga, with Juliet Ritchie, the planning director, and myself. When the legislation changed in 2015 on what the county needed to do to make sure that these sewer systems were operating in good condition. And so after those meetings, it was thought that the best way was to have a uniform rules throughout the whole entire county. Mr. Zaga then contacted the cities and asked if they were interested. And the cities that he contacted, it's my understanding that they were interested, and that's why we're here tonight.
Okay, thank you. May I ask one more question?
Yes, please.
Mr. Zaga, do you feel like that these cities were, and I don't even know what a better word is, but enthusiastic about it, or did they feel like they were just trying to accommodate us, or what was your judgment how they felt?
No, the cities that I have had contact with, and I need to follow up with Farmington and Fayetteville, I think. Renee and I have had that. I'm sorry, Ms. Bybee and I have had that. But both of them immediately responded, yes, please.
Okay.
So I would call that enthusiasm.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
I would add that operator of several of these systems that we're talking about in Goshen is here tonight, and I'm sure that they probably want to talk before you vote. Thank you.
Oh, that's why they've been sitting here.
Okay, so now we are on
17.1.
17.
You are, unless the court's got anything else, Judge.
Any other discussion from the court? Any public comment? Come forward and identify yourselves, please. I'm sorry, J.P. Bowman. Go ahead while they're coming to the front.
Thanks, Judge. She said that there's people here from Goshen, I think. You're okay. Good. Super. That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Hi. Thank you for letting us
name.
speak. I'm Kathy Bartlett, and this is my husband, Tom Bartlett. And we own Northwest Arkansas Utility Services. We operate a number of the community sewer systems here in your county. So it's good to meet you all. You probably have never met us. We're here because of the ordinance that was passed in April regarding the community sewer systems. The customers that we have currently are concerned, and they would like to know, because of the ordinance the way it was written, we would have to possibly change the rate structure that we have for our customers to offset these additional fees. And they wanted an explanation of sorts as to what the county was actually doing that the state of Arkansas is not currently doing as far as administering and enforcement and overseeing the systems. So that's why we're here, to try to get a little better feel for that.
You have to answer to our customers. Yeah, you probably can't.
Go ahead and scoot up there. So
You're going to pull that over. Unfortunately, we have to answer to our customers because the fees, the billing and everything comes through us. The billing doesn't go through POAs. It actually goes through our company. We do the billing and collection. So when we raise the fees, if that is a possibility, we have to explain to them what are the new fees that are coming. What we don't see anywhere is an explanation on who's doing what, why the $2, what's the administration, what is the Washington County doing that the state of Arkansas is no longer doing? Is it anything? Why is there a $2? I can't answer the question to my customers.
Can you tell us?
And you voted it in April, so we thought we'd ask you because you should know.
Judge, with the blessing of the court, because it's their meeting, I could, or with your, actually, you're the chair, I'd be happy to respond directly.
Yes, if you would,
okay.
please.
In 2002, 2003, Washington County enacted, in response to what we knew as the beginning of decentralized, what were then called decentralized sewers, but became community-based sewers, a fairly comprehensive ordinance about what would be going on with these community-based sewers. It was amended in 2005, I think again in 2006, and basically stood unaltered until 2014 when the court voted, the then Quorum Court voted to disband that ordinance structure altogether because the state had, if not very similar, almost very similar state statutory guidelines. In 2015, with the legislative session, they abolished that entire section of the code. So they no longer have the kind of oversight of these systems that the county did. And the rationale for passing the ordinance was that the county wanted to ensure financial viability, those kinds of things. Now, that's my take. Each of the 15 people around this horseshoe may have a different perspective on why they voted, if they all voted for it. I don't remember if it was unanimous or not. But the basic reason was that community-based sewer systems were no longer overseen by the state, except to this one extent. They are regulated and overseen as to financial responsibility for failure if they fail. But that pool is, as I understand it, $1.5 million that you pay into statewide.
2.1.
Okay. And is not allowed to exceed $2.1 million statewide. So any one or two catastrophic failures would exhaust that, could potentially exhaust that pool, at least. That's what I understand.
So I know the bill that you're referring to, House Bill 1314, which became Act 575, and they did not repeal the financial assurance. They just reworded it because it was a hardship on the permit holders within the state. They had legislation that said they had to have some certain financial mechanism in place, and it was very difficult for a lot of the permit holders to obtain that, so they rewrote the law and enacted it and changed it so that there was money that was being paid in at the same time the permit fees were paid, and they were going to build up this trust fund. But what I'm still confused about is that the additional fees that the county is now asking for, how does that alter or change what the state has in place? Or how does it improve it, I guess?
In sitting here tonight, I understand that there's maybe some new positions coming in, and there needs to be more money and so forth. I have to answer to my customers. So they're looking for, what is the county doing for me other than just charge me more money? What is the oversight? What are they actually doing? And I can't answer that.
Okay. I don't know how deep. I'm happy to have this discussion. I don't know. And Judge, I'm not, if we're talking about the ordinance was passed in April.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to talk about the resolution tonight or not. I'm happy to have the discussion in more detail. I don't know that this is the exact right time or forum for that.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, J.P. Mack.
A small point of order, if it's appropriate. This is public comment on this resolution, and they have questions that go much deeper than that back to the ordinance that's already been passed. I think it might be most appropriate if there were to be some communication at another time between these business people and the county attorney, if that's okay.
Pretty much what Zaga just made that statement.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
I think the reason we raised it only was because it has to do with the interlocal agreement with Goshen, where our treatment plant is at. So we understand you do your vote, whatever, and if that does pass, I have to talk to my customers and explain to them what these fees are about. That's why we're here, and that's what we're asking.
J.P. Lloyd.
Thank you, Judge. Could we put them on the agenda for next Thursday night and discuss and get them an answer? Is that too late? Could that help you? I mean, we could.
Yeah. We're looking for something for some good explanations.
Correct, and I'm hearing you that, and I feel like you should be heard. I wish we could have heard from you in April, but that's beside the point.
Obviously, we didn't know this was on the agenda.
Correct.
And we missed that.
Okay, let's decide here. We need to do something to set up an appointment.
Sure.
And maybe we need to have an appointment with our attorney, with Ms. Bybee. Sure. And let's say, and so that we can sit down and talk across the table, so everyone can expound on what they're thinking. So we will get an appointment set up, and I'll have Karen to if you'll leave her your phone number, and Karen, would you notify them when we can work out a time to have an appointment with these folks to discuss this? J.B. Maxwell.
I'll just make a motion that we table 17.1 until our next full quorum court meeting, to give time to address this, and then we can.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
You can't discuss at the table, Judge. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm on a roll.
Sorry.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we will. If you will get with Karen, leave her your information, and we will notify you when we can get a meeting organized.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. J.B. Cochran.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Since item 18 is basically the same thing, I move to table.
So just table it. So now you make a motion?
Second.
I have a motion to table 18, and I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Okay. Number 19, J.P. Madison.
Mr. Zega, if you would read 19.1.
An ordinance authorizing the county to do business with Corey Weathers and Casey Weathers, whereas Arkansas Code annotated section 14-14-1202 requires that the quorum court find that it is in the best interest of the county and that unusual circumstances exist before a county employee or family member of a county employee can do business with the county, and whereas Corey Weathers is a full-time employee of the county's Buildings and Grounds Department and Casey Weathers is his brother, and whereas Corey and Casey Weathers are the owners of Hose Monkey Firefighter Services, LLC, a company selling specialized lighting equipment for law enforcement, fire, and rescue organizations, and the training and service of said equipment, and whereas unusual circumstances exist in that Hose Monkey Firefighter Services, LLC is the only distributor of this type of equipment and within 90 miles of Washington County, and whereas allowing Hose Monkey Firefighter Services to do business with the county will also keep tax revenue in Washington County, now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1. The Quorum Court hereby finds that it is in the best interest of the county and that unusual circumstances exist such that the county is authorized to do business with Hose Monkey Firefighter Services, LLC, owned by Corey Weathers and Casey Weathers.
Thank you, Mr. Zega. This came through County Services, which is why I'm listed as a sponsor, but I think I'm sort of not sure I'm beginning to be a fan of these ordinances, so Mr. and Mr. Weathers have come to us sort of out of sort of planning. They're not currently doing business with the county. They don't currently anticipate doing business with the county. They hope to do business with the county, so they're coming to us sort of to be ready. I think Mr. Lundstrom made some comments in committee about what was truly the specialized nature of the equipment and whether or not there really was this kind of unusual circumstances. One thing that's giving me pause is that we talk about they used specialized lighting. They sell specialized lighting equipment, and that there are unusual circumstances because they're the only distributor of this type of equipment. But then we go on to give them authority to do business on a full scale. So I'm a little unsure about that. I think I'm generally just having a challenge with these, but I don't know if somebody wants to take this up and be the sponsor, because I'm not sure I really want to be anymore, but it just kind of happened that way.
J.P. Pond?
Yes, ma'am. I would be pleased to be the sponsor for this ordinance. I look at it as because they're relatives of one of our county employees. I don't, and that's why we're doing this ordinance. I don't feel like discriminating against county employees in any way. I would, Steve, would you read 19.1? All right, you've already read the ordinance. That's correct. I'd move to pass 19.1.
Now, this is going to take 3 readings.
All right, I move to suspend the rules and read the second time by title only.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Just do a roll call.
That's fine.
Joe Patterson.
Present.
Okay. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
No.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd.
No.
Tom Lundstrom.
No.
Eva Madison.
No.
Sue Madison.
No.
Joe Maxwell.
No.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Oh, sorry.
The motion to suspend the rules failed by a vote of 7 in the affirmative, 7 in the negative, and 1 present.
Thank you. I'm a little
J.P.
taken
Cochran.
aback by this and not very happy about this not coming through this evening. Thank you.
J.P. Cochran.
I move to indefinitely table item 19.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No, you don't get to discuss.
Wait a minute.
Hang on just a minute. J.P. Ecke.
I don't know if I can be just.
if we enter an agreement, help me on this, with them, they're just trying to make everything legal and above board. If they do engage in business with somebody, whatever department it is, emergency management, would that contract be brought under review and we say you can't just engage with any and everybody? I think this ordinance needs to be worked on and have some parameters set to it, and I think it'd be a lot more agreeable. I don't know if I have point of order, but that's just the way. I think we need some parameters. Thank you.
Guys, we're going to have to go ahead. We can't debate this because it's been tabled, so we're going to have to move on. Wait, no.
Not yet, Judge.
Okay. Hang on just a minute. I'm out of order.
You know what? To table indefinitely, is...
not discussed.
No, it can be, actually. My mistake.
Because it's indefinite.
Yes.
So can it be discussed?
Yes.
Okay. J.P. Ecke, yes, please.
I believe they have a need that in the future could be beneficial to the county, seeing that they're exclusive distributors of whatever they're doing. But I would encourage them to just put some parameters on who and everybody they can do business with. Unique circumstances or unique business or whatever it is. But just to say no. With that, they've come to us in good faith because they want to be above board, trying to do that which is right. And I feel that I honor that when somebody tries to do that which is right. Thank you.
Joe, did you? Oh, I'm sorry. J.P. Lundstrom?
One of my problems with this when we looked at it before is that when we looked into the details of this, basically what they're selling are flashlights. There are a lot of people selling flashlights in a whole lot less than 90 miles of Washington County. There's a police supply store in Springdale, Arkansas, that sells as good of flashlights as you can buy. They go to sheriff's departments, police departments, et cetera, et cetera. They may expand their line later on, which is fine, but I don't believe that these extenuating circumstances literally exist. So that was my main complaint with the thing, along with the fact that I don't like the perception that's left with people in the county when we purchase from county employees. One of these gentlemen is actually an employee of the county, and his brother is his partner in the business. Thank you, Judge.
So now, any other discussion? We now have this table. We had a motion. We have a second. So no more discussion. Carly, would you call the roll, please? We don't need to, do we?
Yes,
we
need
do.
to vote,
Go ahead.
You can do
Go ahead. Call the roll.
Yes.
Motion to table, yes. Carly?
Indefinitely.
Joe Patterson.
Joe?
He still vote.
You can still vote.
He can vote on the motion to table.
Butch Pond.
No.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
No.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
No.
Lisa Ecke.
No.
Ann Harbison.
No.
Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
I have 8 to 6 to 1. Is that right?
14, 15, yeah.
It passed.
To table.
Table.
Okay. You know, we didn't even ask them if they wanted to say something. I feel bad about that. Okay, the next one is number 20, J.P. Lundstrom.
Mr. Zager, would you read 20.1, please, sir?
A resolution requesting the state of Arkansas to fully fund the cost of housing and caring for state prisoners in county jails without taking said funds from other resources due to counties. Whereas county jails across Arkansas in general and the Washington County Detention Center in particular hold thousands of detainees every year who are rightly classified as state prisoners, and whereas these state prisoners are convicted of felonies, arrested on probation or parole violations, or otherwise awaiting transport to state correctional facilities, and whereas the state currently reimburses counties at the rate of $30 per day per prisoner, and whereas the actual cost of incarcerating a prisoner in the Washington County Detention Center is almost $67 per day, resulting in the county subsidizing more than half the cost of housing and feeding state prisoners, and whereas there are currently 146 state prisoners in the Washington County Detention Center out of a total population of 597 detainees, and whereas the combination of large numbers of state prisoners in county jails and the lack of state funding to compensate for these prisoners puts an enormous and unjustified burden on county financial resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1, the Washington County Quorum Court respectfully requests that the Arkansas General Assembly pass an act fully funding the actual cost to counties of housing state prisoners, and further respectfully request that the governor sign the same into law. Article 2, the Washington County Quorum Court respectfully requests that the Arkansas General Assembly refrain from taking said funds from county turnback funds.
We discussed this earlier. I just want to reiterate the fact that according to the sheriff, it cost us $66.98 a day to house a prisoner. The state increased our revenue by $2 a day to $30, so they're paying less than half of what it cost us to house these prisoners. So I move that we pass 20.1.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Judge, J.P. Madison, but I want to clarify something.
Okay, hang on just a minute, J.P. Madison. Go ahead.
It's fine for you to I just wanted to say I drafted this. This was as of the date of drafting, which was about 2 weeks ago, the 146 out of 597. So that may not be accurate right now at this exact moment in time.
Okay. J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. I just wanted to echo J.P. Lundstrom's thoughts on this. You know, at a time when the state is sitting on a pile of money and thinks the way they'll expend that money is by giving a tax cut, when every county in the state is suffering as a result of the state not covering the cost of housing prisoners in our county jails. The state is making money off of this because they themselves cannot house prisoners for what they're paying us. But I'll also say, too, there was a lot of discussion. I was getting ready for the Association of Counties meeting later in August, and you think about all the things that the county pays for that are state functions, the cost of our circuit courts. And, in fact, the legislative audit is going to be doing a review of how much counties spend on our circuit courts, which is 100% a state function. So there's just all these different things that the county pays for that are state functions. And the way we're supposed to pay for those is with the turnback. But the turnback doesn't begin to cover those expenses. And so until the state starts looking at how much we're actually paying for all of these state functions, they should not be spending surpluses in the way they're talking about doing. It's just, it's every county in the state faces this. And I just think it's not good money management because the counties are facing financial crises. We're looking at having to raise taxes while they're considering cutting. It doesn't make sense. So I wholeheartedly support Justice Lundstrom's efforts, although I'm not sure how much they'll listen to us.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd just like to make one more quick comment to bring it to your attention. Is in Article 2, Mr. Zega, I think, very intelligently stated that these monies should not be taken from turnback funds. This is money just to pay for this, not taken out of money we're supposed to get anyway.
Right.
So I'm thankful that's in there. Thank you very much.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, J.P. Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. I just did a quick calculation on that. Based on these numbers and $36 difference that they're not paying us is $5,256 per day on those prisoners we're holding for the state. Time the number of days those prisoners are held. And you're talking about a lot of money here. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any public comment? This is a resolution. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We've already done 21. Let's go to 22.1. J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. This is a resolution authorizing the judge to submit a grant for approximately $7,000 with no match required by the county. Attorney Zega, would you please read 22.1?
22.1. I'm sorry. Yes. A resolution authorizing the submittal of a grant application to the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality, Solid Waste Management Division, whereas it is the desire of the county judge and the county's Environmental Affairs Office to submit an application for a grant from the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality, Solid Waste Management Division, and whereas said grant will be used for education and outreach services, and whereas the amount of said grant is approximately $7,000 with no match required by the county. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington, State of Arkansas, Article 1, it hereby authorizes and approves the submission of a grant application as stated above.
Thank you, Attorney Zega. I move to pass 22.1.
Second. Have a motion, second. Discussion? Public comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 22.2, J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. We have another resolution for the Community Fire Prevention Grant application by the judge that will be up to $4,000 with no match. Attorney Zega, please read 22.2.
A resolution authorizing the submittal of a community fire prevention grant application, whereas it is the desire of the county judge, county sheriff, and county fire marshal to apply to the Arkansas Fire Prevention Commission Community Fire Prevention Grant Program, and whereas said grant can be used for community education for the prevention of fires, and whereas if awarded, said grant will be up to $4,000 with no match required by the county. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington, State of Arkansas, Article 1, it hereby authorizes and approves the submission of the grant applications as stated above.
Thank you, Attorney Zega. I move to pass 22.2.
Second. Motion and a second. Discussion? Public comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. 22.3, J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. This is an ordinance to transfer money from the financial management budget to the purchasing budget for part-time wages to move into the department they're actually working. Attorney Zega, would you read 22.3?
An ordinance transferring monies of $4,859 from the financial management budget to the purchasing budget for 2016. Article 1, the following line items in the financial management budget are hereby reduced by the total amount of $4,859 for 2016. Financial management part-time salaries, $3,120. Social Security matching, $239. Software support maintenance agreement, $1,500. For a total reduction of $4,859. Article 2, there is hereby appropriated the total amount of $4,859 from the general fund to the following line items in the purchasing budget for 2016. Purchasing part-time salaries, $3,120. Social Security matching, $239. Supplies, $1,500 for a total appropriation of $4,859.
Thank you, Attorney Zega. In your packet, you'll see an email to Ashley Farber from Nelson Driver requesting some part-time help in the inventory process of our assets. And if Ashley wants to come and talk to this.
Basically, what I'm asking is just to transfer the money from my current budget to purchasing's budget. We are currently trying to inventory each department within the county. This is something that we've always done for years. It's been more relaxed. We have to step up and take responsibility and make sure that everything that meets a criteria that is inventoried for insurance purposes, which I explained in my letter. Basically, this is budget neutral. This will get us some help that would work enough hours but would not qualify for insurance or retirement. And it would give us enough help to get us through. If someone could start August, it could get us through till about the end of September. So.
Thank you. I'll move to pass 22.3.
I have a motion and a second. J.P. Lloyd.
Thank you, Judge. So are you just asking for someone just to work through September and then the job's over with at that time?
Well, to be honest with you, I would love to have someone until the end of the year. This is a huge process. There's 2 girls within the purchasing department, and unfortunately, the reason why it's taking so long is because they they do not have the hours to put in to inventory every department. And when I'm talking every department, I'm talking the departments within this building, our off-site locations, our shop locations. Everything has to be inventoried. So, of course, what I would love is to have someone until the end of the year at least. But because I only have so much appropriated or set aside in my budget, that's all I'm asking is to keep it budget neutral.
And that'll get it started.
That'll get it started. Of course, if you all would love to go ahead and appropriate the rest, I would absolutely accept it.
Okay.
Any other discussion? No, we have a motion, and we have a second. Any public comment? Yeah. Carla, would you call the roll?
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Yes. Bill Ussery. Yes. Daniel Balls. Yes. Harvey Bowman. Yes. Rick Cochran. Yes. Robert Dennis. Yes. Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Yes. Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other business. I want to remind, oh, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I apologize for not knowing the procedures, so I'll take this time thinking this might be right. I know I can't contact other JPs, so I'd like to make an announcement.
Sure.
I put forth an ordinance on raise, and if any of you want to sponsor, then contact Karen and say that you do, and she'll put you on. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to remind everyone about the upcoming special quorum court meeting next Thursday at 5:30. Your agenda packets have been distributed. We will discuss employees' insurance and salaries. We've got a couple of other things I think is going to be added to the agenda. And I know most of Steve, did you need to be recognized?
I was waiting for public comment.
Oh, okay. And, I know this seems kind of hard having a special meeting, but I think with what we've got to discuss with the insurance and all that, I think it's very important before we really get into budgets full of swing. Are there any other announcements or business to come before the court? Public comment.
Judge.
Oh, you're recognized. Mr. Sullivan.
I just wanted to ask yourself and Mr. Zega how this resolution will work. Will that just be mailed to Robin? Or do I need to take it to her, or how's that going to happen?
My plan, J.P. Lundstrom, I didn't write the letter yet, and I wanted it obviously to be the original copy that Judge signs, so it probably will be ready Monday to get Judge's signature on the letter and Sheriff's signature on the letter, and I can hand deliver it to you at that time. Or you come up here and get it, whatever's convenient for you, or what we can, if you prefer, we mail it to her. We can do it that way.
I would kind of like to hand it to her personally so I can discuss it with her at the same time. So I'll come up. Won't you text me or something?
I'll call you.
Let me know it's ready, and I'll come get it.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, they're going to be home tomorrow evening from the RNC, so Monday or Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Be easy. Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, public comment. You're recognized.
Steve Zaga, Fayetteville, Arkansas. I would have let y'all know this, but I thought you would probably like to know that the first appeal under the new potentially dangerous and hazardous animal ordinance happened at the beginning of this month, and I felt like the process worked very well, and the animal owner felt like they were heard, the aggrieved citizen felt like they were heard, and the sheriff's office had a chance to weigh in as well. So I think, and I know this may be a work in progress, but I think that the system you designed is working.
J.B. Madison?
Well, you designed it too, but what was the outcome?
The designation, it was potentially dangerous, I think, and was upheld.
Okay, curious. Okay, thank you.
J.P. Cochran?
Yes, I just want to compliment you on your help in drafting this. I know that we, as a body, put a lot of input in it, but we rely on your help for the proper verbiage, and keep us out of the snares, keep us to where it is very workable, and it's good to hear that it is workable. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, sir.
Any other public comment? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a motion and a second? All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. And thank y'all for putting up with such a long meeting.